I think the educational institution or any institution per se needs to create that base which is actually on which it will thrive. And here I think from our perspective, at least in the next 40 minutes, we are going to learn very deeply about how these big institutions have created that kind of an ecosystem which other institutions can adopt, can see what all good things they've done in creating the impact in the society. So we'll just dive into the topic, and I can just straight away go to any of you, whoever wants to pick up, in fact, this question related to. Uh, Before getting into the discussion on the topic, do you think that the mission and vision of the organization or educational institution is more important in creating a solid institution at the beneath? Or you feel that as you go along, your mission and vision actually gets created? What is the overall thinking from the panel on this, that we have to put the mission and vision first and then try and achieve that? Or you feel that as you go along, those things get created? Any of you can pick up this and start with what your thinking is on this.
Well, in my opinion, from my experience, I think you need to have a clear vision in the beginning only. There should be some central theme, some central idea. Because, education is a different thing. It's not like other industries. We are not making a product and selling it. So here we are controlling the minds of people. We are directly playing with human beings. We are not making something which is non-living. We are directly controlling. So it is challenging, and there is a big responsibility. Somebody in the education line has a big responsibility, because especially from my experience, because I deal with students. We deal with students who are they are just teenagers. They are in the stage where their brains are getting shaped up. So whatever impression you give to them, that is going to last, that is going to make their own thinking in their whole life. So apart from teaching a subject, apart from that also, anybody in education has to make a impression on the overall thought process of the student. क्योंकि बाद में क्या होता है, वंस दे गो टू सम कॉलेज, दे गेट सक्सेस, उसके बाद लाइफ लॉन्ग वो रिज़ल्ट किसी एग्ज़ाम का इतना इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं होता है उनके लिए. वो इम्पोर्टेंट होता है कि द टाइम दैट दे स्पेंट विद यू, विद द इंस्टीट्यूशन, विद द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, उस टाइम को वो लोग याद रखते हैं. तो वो जो टाइम स्पेंट होता है उसमें उनको कुछ खास मिला, कुछ नया उनको सीखने को मिला, अपार्ट फ्रॉम द एग्ज़ाम दैट दे हैड टू अपीयर. क्योंकि मेरे पास अभी लास्ट ईयर ही एक स्टूडेंट की वेडिंग थी, उसने इनवाइट किया मुझे. तो उसने एक बात बोला कि मैं विद्या मंदिर से पढ़ा था, और जो मेरी वाइफ है वो पढ़ के किसी और इंस्टीट्यूट से आई थी. तो वो हमेशा कहती थी कि मुझे अपना वो टाइम बड़ा ख़राब लगता है, IIT JEE प्रिपरेशन का टाइम मुझे बिल्कुल अच्छा नहीं लगता, मैं उसको याद नहीं करना चाहती. वो कहता मैं तो सिर्फ शॉक हो गया, वो मेरी लाइफ का तो सबसे बेस्ट टाइम था वहाँ पर जो निकला. वहाँ पर मैंने खाली IIT में जाना नहीं सीखा, मैंने बहुत कुछ सीखा, और बहुत मैं उसको आई जस्ट चेरिश दोज मेमोरीज. सो ये तभी हो सकता है. एक तो ये तब हो सकता है जब आपकी अपने अंदर क्या आपका फिलॉसफी है आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के पीछे, खाली वो इम्पॉर्टेंट नहीं है. क्योंकि यू आर अलोन नॉट द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, देयर इज़ अ टीम इन योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. तो जो आपकी टीम है, जो आपकी फैकल्टी है, जो आपकी सारे डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं, दे शुड ऑल्सो बी इन सिंक विद योर थिंकिंग. तो ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है. क्योंकि स्टूडेंट जब आते हैं तो हम उनकी एक तरह से, देखिए स्टूडेंट लाइफ क्या है, टफ़ क्यों है. स्टूडेंट लाइफ टफ़ इसलिए है क्योंकि हम ना उनको जज करते हैं. अब मैं यहाँ बोल रहा हूँ, कोई मुझे ऐसे बोल दे कि आप जो बोलोगे ना उसकी जजमेंट होगी, मार्क्स मिलेंगे उसके बेसिस पर, तो मैं अपना बेस्ट नहीं बोल पाऊँगा. अगर मुझे पता होगा मेरी जजमेंट हो रही है, तो हमें पता नहीं चलता हम उनके साथ क्या कर रहे होते हैं, हम भूल जाते हैं अपनी स्टूडेंट लाइफ को. हम ऑल द टाइम उनको जजमेंट कर रहे हैं एंड टू मेक जजमेंट ऑन ए ह्यूमन बीइंग इटसेल्फ। एक्चुअली हमारा जो प्रोसेस है एग्ज़ाम का, हमारे लिए क्या, हमारे लिए मतलब शिक्षा मतलब परीक्षा है बेसिकली। तो एग्ज़ाम के ऊपर सारा हमारा सेंटर्ड है एजुकेशन सिस्टम। ठीक है, अब कोई बेटर सिस्टम नहीं मिल रहा है तो हम ऐसे चल रहे हैं, बट इट इज़ वेरी प्रिमिटिव, वेरी क्रूड कि एग्ज़ाम के हम लर्निंग को एग्ज़ाम से एसोसिएट करता है हमारा सिस्टम। तो ये इट्सेल्फ ही इतना डैमेजिंग होता है एक स्टूडेंट के लिए। तो उसके साथ क्या होता है कि हमें ह्यूमनली उनको फील करना, उनकी उनकी साइकोलॉजी को फील करना, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो ये ऐसे नहीं हो सकता है कि हम मतलब किसी काम को शुरू करें, एजुकेशन में आ जाएं और उसमें चलते जाएं बस ऐसे ही। तो हमारे पास कुछ विजन होना चाहिए, एटलीस्ट हमारी हमारी इंटेंशंस, हमारा पैशन क्लियर होना चाहिए। ये मेरा मेरा थॉट्स ये है, एजुकेशन इज़ दैट्स वाई इट इज़ डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अदर थिंग्स। ये मेरे थोड़े थॉट्स से मैं शेयर करना चाह रहा था, तो बाकी आप तो
No, I think, sir, it is quite clear. I think, Sudhanshu, sir, you have spent almost 30 odd years in corporate life. 34, to be precise. So, his perspective largely comes because he created the company and he is at the helm of the company from creation to where he has taken it today. You have both experience of corporate as well as now within an educational institution. What is your perspective on this?
So I don't know whether vision should come first or mission should come first, and then you should start something. But between vision and mission, and this is again my level of understanding, I think mission is far, far more important. For the simple reason, if you see the word mission, it is inherent to mission what you call as zeal and what you call as passion. You can have a vision which could be a dream, saying, you know, I want to be number one in IT education. But mission is what is going to take you there. So it's the execution of what you believe you should be doing to reach your so-called dream or vision. So if you have the passion, you have the zeal, and what passion and what zeal you should have, I think for an educational institution, this is my view. You need to be a student, a parent, and an administrator and a faculty all is put in one at the same point of time. Only then I think you can really do justice to defining what are you going to do in the institute, how are you going to do it, what are you going to teach, and what is the outcome that should come out. Because if you believe and if you get into the shoes of a student, what you rightly said, वो एग्जाम के डर में और मार्क्स के डर में you can never bring the best out of them. But if you can think like a student as to what would you want as a student, what would you want as a parent, and what would you want and what you can do to facilitate all this as an administrator, and most importantly, what you can do and what you should be doing as a guru, then your vision and mission is done. Then you're set on the right path. That is my view.
I think rightly said. I think clearly both are important. You need to have a vision and you need to have a mission to reach your vision clearly. So Rajiv sir, what has been your experience with respect to specifically Shiv Nadar University per se? Because you have seen that from day one.
Yes. Thank you for the question. So I would say this, that India is such a large and diverse country. As per the reports, we've already surpassed China perhaps. And there are so many young people who are aspirational, who want to go to the next level, whether it is a son of a farmer, a woman, everybody wants to go a step above what they have experienced. But we have not been able to fulfill the ambitions of this youth in this country because of limited high quality institution that we have. We have only a few names that we can all take when we think about sending our children in this country. And I think the world is very clear on this part, that if educational institution cannot take part in the growth of the country, there is no possibility of growth. So all developed nations have gone to that level on the back of great academic institutions, particularly at the university level. And I think that is where we thought that, if we have to improve the outcome of this country in terms of growth potential that we have, we can do two things. One is we can actually go ahead and do whatever we can do in small ways to touch millions of lives. The other way is we can go and touch a small number of people who can then be a change maker and transform lives of millions of people. So we chose the other way, which is to establish an institution which is focused, small, but with a very high ambition to train undergraduates, graduates, and doctoral students who can really be change makers and transform the technological, social, emotional, and cognitive space of this country. And I think that is the vision that we are having. And of course, I think as Shyam sir mentioned and our other panelists mentioned, I think it needs the it needs a commitment. And if you have the vision, you have the passion, you will be able to achieve it, because there are a lot of people who are waiting on the sidelines for a leadership who can show some path, and they will all come in support of you in whatever way they can. And I think we'll go to the next level.
Clearly, I think. So if you look at from an educational institution point of view, aside of other pillars, there are two big pillars which actually helps an education institution to thrive. Students on one side and faculty on the other side. And their experience and their outcome is more important in actually the growth of an educational institution. So Anil sir, you have a deep experience, first at NIIT, from a corporate point of view, Tata's, then Shivnadar University, and now at Thapar. What do you think that from your institution's point of view, these two pillars with respect to faculty on one side and student on the other side, how their outcomes and their experience is managed to create the growth as well as a very strong organization?
Thanks. I think with the fellow panelists already mentioned very categorically that unlike any other sector in industries, the vision and vision statement definitely to be there. But considering education, which deals with the human capital and all, it requires much more effort and focus effort. So I would like to just touch upon that question again and then come back to this one. Okay. I think by and large, education is one of the pivotal, fabric which constitute any society at large and community as a country and then as a global world. That's a fundamental truth. So that's where it is. We do have visions when an organization and institute build up in the initial level with consideration of this, whether an institution wants to be called as a research-focused institute or innovative and all, that started with certain assumption. But on the same line, as you grow, you're reaching toward that particular vision, but definitely to reach there, the arms and ammunition mission keep on changing. So when Thapar started back in 1956, just very recent post-independence, that was the industrial revolution for us. We started with the two programs. The pure focus was only to create engineer because we were just building up everything. And that point of a time, we didn't have so great professors who were actually coming from the academic background. They were more hands-on experience who were working in the field and they were basically teaching us. But today's scenario, if you see, is totally change across and all. So for me, if you clearly says, you definitely have a very arch vision statement, and now upcoming institute nowadays, I have seen most of the time the big fives are the one who create the vision statements. It's consultant hired outside to create those vision statements. Definitely with imbibe focus from the founders and the leaders, but definitely you go. So that's where it is. So I believe your vision statement is there, but you're agile enough to basically to change your vision to reach that goal. Coming back to the question that we have two pillars, students and faculty, definitely we can't shy away with the credit of faculty because these are the two pillars, and the third pillars, which are the support system, is semantic to this. Look, student outcome, I'm coming from that background, not the faculty fraternity, not to take the credit away, but from that experience, I think student outcomes plays a very pivotal role. which creates the credibility of an institute in terms of how they have done. When I say student outcome, it's not only the academic outcomes which we are talking about. Okay, so we call it the identify or intentional outcome base, or we talk about the course objective. I'm just harping on these 2 points. Lot of time it happens people are not able to clear what these two. We have a lot of ranking framework in India, which predominantly work on typically the learning outcome basis, which create the knowledge to a student for a particular subject. When we see what is the course objective, there's a thin line there. You understand you have the knowledge, but will a student able to apply to the real live world? That's basically the course objective. You being knowledgeable. And I see there is a big gap, and that's what we call of industry readiness. And that's the reason core we have lot of intervention and support coming from the industry to bridge that gap and student outcomes. And I definitely believe, student outcome is one of the key pillar to being seen as the consideration for university growth, whether it's an enrollment or name. Over the period of time, student outcome directly is the derivation of the university also. So you see somebody, okay, he's a Harvard graduate. We typically say that. On the same lines, you see the top of the people who are doing well off in the world is also related to that. So it's a coexistence. In my opinion, that's very pivotal. And every student should look for that student outcomes, which is not only the number of placement by asset, but in terms of post-placement, whether it's academic or whether it's a corporate placement, what exactly down the line, 5 years, 6 years, these students are doing. Okay, that's purely for me as an outcome.
Sure. And if I come to you, sir, because you are Dean Academics as well, so I'm sure that there is a lot which you have to undertake from the faculty side. We have heard the perspective on the student side. So from an outcome point of view, what are the things you think for an educational institution is important?
So I'm myself a faculty, and I teach even now large classes. So one of the biggest thing, and that every academic institution suffer from, is to attract a good quality faculty. And the biggest challenge there is that the pool is very small, very, very small, because nobody wants to become a faculty. Not everybody is like Shyam sir, who can go and teach in the class. So the students need a role model, and we don't have that because the lure of money is very high. So all those people who want to become a faculty, they have something else in mind. So academic institutions across the globe have been, those who have come to the top have been able to provide that ecosystem to them, which is the independence, which is availability of grant, which is freedom to do research, and all that. And when we thought about why would a faculty come to India from globally ranked institution to become to come here and stay and teach students, I think the first pillar came to us was research. So faculty needs support for research, and research is very expensive, very, very expensive. You have to spend a lot of money for things that may not even fructify in the end. So I think we understood that research has to be a pillar around which our university has to rotate, because that's what globally has been seen as a model of success. And one is the student experience. But student experience in a research-based institution allows them to explore things and see what they have been studying in the books. So you actually create those things yourself by your own hand with the help of a mentor who is a faculty, and you start enjoying that process. So between the student experience and the faculty experience, I think research, availability of research infrastructure, and complete absence of, or not complete, but almost absence of other administrative shackles is important for them to think, because they need time which is free for them to think and explore. And students, in fact, if you leave everything else, just leave the student and a good faculty in a room, they will really find something new and interesting.
So Shyam sir, like Rajiv sir, you are also a faculty and you are managing a lot of faculty.
Yes.
आपकी sir क्या understanding है from a faculty point of view?
Yes, the faculty is most important, I think. Faculty is most important. And as he said that if a university research is almost as important as faculty, because universities are ranked according to research, the research that is taking place in that. But as far as faculty is concerned, yes, it's right that it is a good faculty is very rare. Actually, I'm telling you from my experience and experience of some students also. When they go to IIT, तो वो बोलते हैं कि भैया वहाँ तो कुछ समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा है क्या पढ़ा रहे हैं, आप बिलीव नहीं करोगे, आईआईटी की बात कर रहा हूँ. तो क्या होता है कि हायर एजुकेशन में सब्जेक्ट्स आर सच दैट इट इज़ वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट टू टीच गुड, एंड द फैकल्टी नीड्स टू बी वेरी मोटिवेटेड, because most of the faculty, how do they hire faculty, how do one hire faculty? आप फैकल्टी का देखते हो क्वालिफिकेशन क्या है, पीएचडी है, कहाँ से, यूएसए से किसी यूनिवर्सिटी से पीएचडी की हुई है, तो आप उसकी एबिलिटी के हिसाब से उसको हायर करते हो. बट दैट एजुकेशनल क्वालिफिकेशन डज नॉट मेक ए फैकल्टी गुड फॉर स्टूडेंट्स. फॉर स्टूडेंट्स इट इज़ द अर्ज ऑफ द टीचर, अर्ज ऑफ द फैकल्टी, दैट उसकी कितना उसका इच्छा है कि लोगों को ये टॉपिक समझ में आ जाए. क्योंकि इन हायर एजुकेशन, स्पेशली इन इंजीनियरिंग, subjects are very tough. It's not easy to understand, it's not easy to teach also those subjects. A faculty also needs to do homework and see the feedback कि मैंने पढ़ाया अभी वहाँ क्या होता है कि I tell my students that if you go directly to the class, you are not going to understand anything. You have to do some homework before the class. You have to be familiar with the topic before the class. So that's a student responsibility. But when I was at IIT, there was many teachers who were so passionate. So it's everywhere it's same, not only in IIT. Everywhere there are some teachers who can convey their thoughts, their ideas.
Very clear.
So faculty needs to be motivated to create good students, because if the student gets interested in the topic, then only he is going to research. ज़्यादातर स्टूडेंट्स का क्या होता है, कहते हैं यार आईआईटी में आ गए, हो गया, अब करियर बन गया, अब पास आउट करेंगे, अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी में आ गए, अब पास आउट करके अच्छी जॉब मिल जानी चाहिए बस. रिसर्च में कौन जाएगा? तो रिसर्च में तो वही जाएगा ना, somebody who loves the subject. तो रिसर्च के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, और बाहर की यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में ये ज़्यादा होता है. वहाँ पर रिसर्च में जो लोग जाते हैं वो बड़े पैशनेट होते हैं, बिकॉज रिसर्च इज़ व्हाट इज़ रिसर्च. एज ही सेड, आप उसमें पूरा अपना इनपुट लगाते हो, जो अपनी पूरी कॉस्ट लगाती है यूनिवर्सिटी, और एक इंसान अपनी पूरी लाइफ लगाता है, उसको पता नहीं होता है कि मेरे को क्या मिलेगा. ही मे बी एट द डेड एंड, एट द एंड ऑफ ए डेकेड. तो रिसर्च नीड्स अ लॉट ऑफ पैशन एंड मोटिवेशन. तो वो आता है टीचर से. जो रिसर्च में गया, अच्छा काम किया, ज़रूर उसके पीछे उसका कोई टीचर रहा होगा. सो दैट इज़ वाई फैकल्टी इज़, स्पेशली इन हायर एजुकेशन, इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एंड इट्स नॉट ईजी. In my personal experience, I think only 50% faculty is, passionate to teach in higher education, because it's difficult. It's not so easy. You have to do homework. Faculty has to do homework. There were very good teachers in IIT Delhi when I was there, और लोग बताते भी हैं बहुत जगह IIT नहीं, कोई दूसरे कॉलेज में ज़्यादा अच्छे टीचर्स होते हैं. कई बार IIT में नहीं होते, सब जगह होते हैं, और जगह ज़्यादा अच्छे टीचर्स होते हैं. कभी IIT में तो वो ले लेते हैं क्वालिफिकेशन से, जो IITian था उसने बाहर अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी से किया. तो फैकल्टी के बारे में तो मेरा ये थॉट्स है.
I think clearly you have nailed it right, sir. You want to add something on top of this,
I'll add a
please?
couple of things over here.
Please.
So, and this is a discussion I keep on having with faculties across a number of years of experience. Agenda क्या है faculty? If the agenda which the faculty, let me put it like this, within inverted commas, the right agenda for a faculty should always be that the student who's come here to achieve a dream, am I doing what it takes to help the student reach that dream? I'll give you an example. मैं क्यों कह रहा हूँ. हम मेकअप एग्जाम नहीं देंगे. We will not give the facility to a student to do a makeup exam for ABCD. Reason? My agenda is he has to follow the rule and the guideline. My agenda is not to help the student actually sit in the exam in a much better prepared fashion and therefore be able to showcase his knowledge. Which brings me to the second agenda. Am I as a faculty giving knowledge, or am I as a faculty closing chapter 1, page 1 to chapter 15, page 250? And unfortunately, हमारे जितने भी exam systems and testing systems हैं, they don't test the knowledge. They test what they have as a curriculum.
नहीं हाँ, हायर एजुकेशन में तो स्पेशली आपकी बात ठीक है.
स्कूल में उससे भी बदतर है.
स्कूल में
School is like that. So right from school time, if you do not build the whole system which is going to be knowledge based and enhancing knowledge, then you will never achieve that in the higher education. And jo aapne bola, when kids go from a 12th grade to a college, whether it's IIT, whether it's BITS, whether it is SNU, Bennett, Thaper, whatever, the gap between what you've done in 12th and what you're going to do in the first day in college is huge.
Absolutely different level.
And
the thing is, it seems absolutely different. Subject seems absolutely different. वहाँ जाने के बाद.
And I'll tell you the biggest person who can actually play a brilliant role over here is the faculty. Because if you look at the kid, he scores very well in 12th. He comes to a college and he suddenly finds, यार first semester में मेरा CGPA तो 6 भी नहीं बनने वाला. He can't go to the parent and tell him, I am not understanding. Parent तो बोलेगा तुम तो पढ़ ही नहीं रहे. It's such a good university. I have spent so much in putting you over there. He can't ask his neighbor कि तुम्हारे कितने marks हैं. वो शर्म आती है. At that point of time, the only person who can handhold, be a friend, philosopher, guide is the faculty. If the faculty does not do that role, doesn't play that role, and we all, for our NAC ratings, we have this mentor-mentee policy, which is a very good policy on paper. But what as a mentor that faculty should be doing, no one else can do that. That kid should have the courage and bindas courage to actually go to a faculty and say, sir, मुझे ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा. I am not able to understand. Unfortunately,
and the teacher has to give him space. Teacher has to give him space so that he comes.
We take this as saying, what can this 17-year-old guy tell me that I don't know how to teach? The guy is not saying that. बच्चा वो नहीं कह रहा है. बच्चा कह रहा है कि सर आप जैसे पढ़ा रहे हो वैसे नहीं समझ में आ रहा. Can you explain the same thing to me differently? Faculty is the main pillar, not just for an institution. It's also he is also or she is also the main pillar for the way the young child is going to grow.
Sir, undoubtedly. In fact, sir, you reminded me of Tare Zameen Par in this discussion, where Ishan Awasthi was not able to understand, and when Amir Khan, his father says that, कि भाई ये तो बदमाशी कर रहा है. आमिर खान आके बताता है कि नहीं भाई बदमाशी नहीं कर रहा है, एक्चुअली में उसे समझ नहीं आ रहा है. So, from a blueprint of an educational institution, we talked about mission, vision, we talked about student, faculty, which are the core pillars of creating a finest institution in India or anywhere in the world. Now, the question is, there are a lot of institutions which are there. As a student, how should I choose which is the right institution for me? What has been your experience in that regard?
So I actually, across all the people sitting over here on the stage, I am the baby in the education sector. I have the least experience in the education sector. So as I said, so if I look at it as a student side and a parent side, today majority of people who pick up an institute or want to get into is primarily focused on what they define as the outcome being placement. Feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong, but whatever I have experienced is they'll come and the first question the parents ask you is, अच्छा यहाँ पे नौकरी अच्छी मिल जाएगी? What kind of companies come over here? What are your average salaries? How many kids get into a 20 lakh salary bracket or a 30 lakh or a 40 lakh salary bracket? That primarily then drives the kid to decide where to go. While we all love, and we all love to say, and we keep on telling, I have got X percentage of PhD people, they are from this place and that place, and we are very research oriented, and we have a huge academic rigor. The funniest part of this being academic rigor, where a kid who in the 11th and 12th slogs for about 12 hours a day, you bring him to a university and you give him 5 days a week, 6 hours a day at best, and then you say, मैं इसको prepare कर रहा हूँ for corporate world. I would love to work for a corporate which will pay me to work 5 days a week, 6 hours a day. I really love it. मैं free में काम करूँ. वो 2 साल से 12 घंटे काम कर रहा है बच्चा, and you get him into a super luxury holiday by telling him 5 days a week, 6 hours a day. What do you think the guy will end up doing? But these are things which today drive a decision. I typically get to hear from a person, I said, so, तुमने तो fees दे रही थी, why are you withdrawing? My friends have gone to X, Y, Z. So I said, why are you following your friends? Why are your friends not following you? I'm coming over here. And then you suddenly discover the curriculum is lighter, atmosphere is more charging, so to say, in the other place. While if I was to go back to my student days when I went to BITS Pilani, I think the reason one went to BITS Pilani was what you heard from the seniors. In terms of, the space they give you. I mean, they still, I believe, have a zero attendance policy. You attend a class, you don't attend a class. It's entirely your decision. But at the end of the day, you are responsible to score the marks and clear the subject. Then you can't hold anyone responsible. So a place which is, to me, a place which is conducive to overall development of a kid, not just focusing on the professional development, should be ideally a place where one should love to go.
Anil sir, what has been your experience, both with SNU and now with Thapar?
Yeah, look, I've been counseling since almost, more than 15 years
15
now.
years, yeah.
Okay, I'll just probably want to quote like one of my fellow colleague, more than a decade, Kanchi is also here. We've been counseling a lot of students across, I think this generation knows what they want to do. In my opinion, I have, loudly raised my opinion. More than for the students, in today's time, the counseling should be done for parents. Okay. The reason being, they are the one who build up the whole societal pressure. We understand, the ranking systems and all. You take sectorial wise, you take engineering, BTech, all degree programs. I rate these programs as an ROI. So the parents come from the mindset of an ROI. You're spending 20, 22, 25 lakh. So they multiply. This should be what you're supposed to get it. And it's a very factual thing. Everybody can from here also in Google do. The most search question for IIT Delhi or IIT Madras is not about the 2 potential research best done by undergraduate which got the world accolade. It's not that research search. The search would be the highest package at IIT Delhi. The search is related to the highest package across this, or the next highest question would be, what is the average salary? This what it is done. And predominantly out of 45,000 seats, including all the sectors like which is your IITs and triple IITs, NIITs, all across, wherever you take NIITs, more than 60% of these seats are not the program which is the aspiration of a student. What I'm just watching what Himanshu is also saying, that it is basically they just want a tag and they wanted to continue. When I was working, it's my experience within Tata's, like I had the graduate trainees with me who were purely into doing a sales job with me, and they were from IITs. I simply asked, somebody was probably IIT, done the BTech in chemicals, civils and all core they have done. So they said, no sir, we just wanted to get into IIT at that tag because that's matter than probably cracking and getting into the MBAs and all. So for me, I rightly said that. At our institute, I just wanted to give an example. We have envisaged a terminology called potential versus pedagogy. Okay, so we firmly believe in this, and we have started not like almost a decade back called ELC, Experiential Learning Center. And Experiential Learning Center, when I say potential versus pedagogy, when potential is what is the aspiration, okay, the possibility of a student, his area of interest, his critical thinking, what he or she can do, rather than just getting them stimulated into the prescriptive lab assignments. Okay, you are mandate by 158 credit of AICTs to do certain labs mandatory in mechanical engineering, but you wanted to create something else, you can't do that. So this ELC is beyond your curriculum, experiential learning center. It is not the part of your credit system. Beyond every semester, a student has to choose a topic of its own, which could be something which they like to contribute to, as a society large, but it's area of interest what they have to do. And we are making sure that, as rightly said, the 5 days learning in the classrooms and all, it's not that what they face in the industry. But after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, they go back again to the labs and then again they research because they are passionate to do, which drives. So I still believe now today this whole scenario is problem of plenty. In our old age time, I used to call it self-compartmentalization. So you have humanities, sciences, and commerce that finish. But within the humanities, there are a lot of scopes. So it's a problem of plenty, and rightly you have pleased that question, how they choose. I still believe getting CGPAs, getting admission it's still okay, but whether you're going to achieve what you're passionate and what you meant for that, it won't come. So I still tell a lot of parents and students, please choose the program versus a college or a university which you like. That should be my guidance to the parents and students. Thanks.
Let me change a gear a bit.
Just on a lighter note, this reminds me. So I did this with my nephew. A few years back, he wanted to get into BTech CSC and he was getting into Vellore. So his father said, "यार मैं तो डॉक्टर हूँ, मुझे तो कुछ पता नहीं है, तू बात कर लो इससे." तो I said, "ठीक है." तो I asked him only one question. I said, "इसके बाद क्या करेगा after you do your BTech?" He says, "Chachu, I will do MBA." I said, "Why do you want to do MBA?" "No, then I want to get into marketing and all that thing." I said, "Then why do you want to waste 4 years doing engineering? You do economics or you do BCom or you do a BBA and then after that I said, "You'll save 1 year. You will be more prepared to do MBA." That cousin of mine stopped talking to me for 3 years. I made the mistake of telling him, program choose karo, college mat choose karo.
So these are real facts of life. I agree totally with you. So in the interest of time, let me change gears a bit and bring back the focus on the blueprint. One of the biggest enabler is technology, clearly. And to create an organization of impact, I'm very sure that technology will play a very important role. So faculty, student and technology can actually change the game. Wherever, and this is my personal experience and I'm sharing this very openly here, that wherever we go as an institution to support for technology, to institution and all that, there are a lot of barriers with respect to either adopting the technology or upgrading the technology, especially in the enrollment arena in the front when you actually look at admissions and all that. What has been your experience, Anil sir, with respect to adopting technology, especially in the admission side, and how it has helped you and your institution? You can share your SNU learning, you can share your Thapar learning about the same.
Yeah, thanks. So my association with Meritto and erstwhile NoPaperForms pretty long back with Suraj and entire team, we met there, no? So Shivnada University, as I say, it's predominantly a research-focused university. So our volume was not pretty large, as Professor Rajiv rightly mentioned. Okay, we have to serve, but yes, our focus was to create that kind of we scouting the scholars, okay, top of the best class of students and coming. So the whole idea at that point of a time was when we started, everything was there. We had a technology, but not at that advanced where you have everything together, because we were lead capturing, then running application, it's finished, then whether we are able to do it, So one of the challenge for us was that to make sure that the world knows that this is the kind of an institute, exists, being, I think, the third largest founders in terms of the wealth-wise HCL group, but still a lot of people were not aware pan-India. So how are we probably going to do it and all? So the technology from Meritto and NoPaperForms, that one definitely helped us at that time. We made the CRM, like I think I was instrumental in getting them and CRM, and I think, I don't want to quote the numbers and all, but I think we have seen almost 4 times growth with NoPaperForm and all. I do remember that our board meeting with Suraj that time and all. So we have done many folds there. It also helped us at that point of a time to do very great deep insights into what particular efforts giving us more results so that we can do better. Okay, so that's one. And similarly, same in Thapa University, we are again partner with them and working great. Coming back to your second question, what exactly stops? Okay, so the first and foremost question, when I think any of the technology partner coming and meeting, I think everybody know there is an advantage. It's sure there's nobody is there who call you and ask you, okay, what is you have to offer? Everybody knows. I think the first and fundamental bottleneck is the trust. And I can proudly say that whole Meritto and NoPaperForms are able to build us that trust for us, because the sanctity of the whole admission process lies in terms of application, the data, sanctity in terms of the records, upcoming, that's the first bottleneck. I'm not sure that any institute would have simply said to you, the percentage would be less initially the call, that we don't have big funds to require, because ultimately this is the growth driving factor, one of the instrument to get into this. So the first and foremost thing is, as an organization, especially the technology partner, trust is the fundamental issue which I have seen in across. Even today, we might be using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 services of yours, but not 6, 7. It's not because the payment structure or cost effectiveness, but predominantly it's basically trust. And trust has a lot of factor. One, believing whether it can be delivered or not. Okay, historically the institute is running a process from the old fashion and all, and a lot of time it happens they are not able to adapt to the agility, that whether we can get the same result with this technology or not. So I think these are the two common factor which probably has to be seen by any partner, technology partner, to move in, build up the trust, and definitely the cost effectiveness. If you're spending X, what are you going to get? X plus 1 is basically the result. And you have partners like us who can actually be a proof of concept for you. So these are the two bottleneck, I think, in technology. I'm talking predominantly from the admission perspective and all. Definitely technology advancement in education and all, that has again a biggest leverage. Okay, a lot of people have said post-COVID, technology will probably eliminate the typical physical class. It's not. I believe differently. A technology in a great teacher's hand can do wonders. Okay, that's the approach probably we have to go forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Sudhanshu sir, what
I
has been
just
your-
add to this. So there is also this whole thing about resistance to change.
Yeah.
And I've seen this across industries. Education is my 8th industry, and I've seen any industry you go to and you come up with technology enablement. I'm happy the way things are happening right now. Why should I now go and learn something new all over again and then try it out?
So you're absolutely right. My experience is also same.
वो चेंज करना बड़ा मुश्किल है.
हाँ, मैं एग्जांपल देता हूँ अपना, जो आपने बोला ना, क्या होता है टेक्नोलॉजी का ना बेनिफिट ना जब तक मिलता नहीं है ना तब तक पता भी नहीं चलता बहुत सारे लोगों को. जब वो मिलता है ना तब पता चलता है. अभी मैं कभी ऑनलाइन क्लास नहीं लेता था. अब मुझे परेशानी थी ऑनलाइन क्लास से. यार क्या ऑनलाइन क्लास, कैमरे के सामने पढ़ा रहे, किसको पढ़ा रहे पता नहीं चलता है. तो यूट्यूब पे तो बहुत कुछ पहले से चल रहा है, लेकिन कोविड आने के बाद तो उससे नहीं बच सकते. तो कोविड आया तो मैंने, अब कोविड शुरू होने के बाद 1 महीना मैंने क्लास नहीं लिया. आई वॉज सो रेजिस्टेंट टू इट ना. तो फिर लगा यार क्लास तो लेना पड़ेगा, तो सीखना पड़ेगा क्लास लेना, कैमरे के सामने आदत तो डालनी पड़ेगी. उसमें कोई बहुत कुछ सीखने को नहीं था. कैमरा ऑन कर दो, आप बैठ जाओ बस. लेकिन वो ऐसा एक ब्लॉक था कि सामने स्टूडेंट नहीं है तो हम पढ़ा किसको रहे हैं, अंदर से एनर्जी नहीं आती यार पढ़ाने की, ऐसी फीलिंग थी. तो जब वो क्लास लेना शुरू किया तो उस टाइम स्टूडेंट्स को भी ऑप्शन नहीं था ना. सो दैट्स वाई दे वर वेरी मोटिवेटेड. तो उसमें क्या हुआ कि धीरे धीरे पता चला यार दिस इज़ वेरी बेनिफिशियल, कि जो मैं लिख रहा हूँ मुझे टेंशन नहीं है. पहले क्या करते हैं, बोर्ड पर लिखते हैं तो स्टूडेंट कहते हैं अभी रुक जाओ हमने नहीं लिखा, तो हमें लगता है यार थोड़ा टाइम दें, स्टूडेंट नोट कर लें. तो क्लास PDF जो मैं लिख रहा हूँ, माई हैंड रिटन PDF इज गिवन टू द स्टूडेंट्स, माई वीडियो रिकॉर्डिंग इज बीइंग गिवन टू द स्टूडेंट्स, इज सो बेनिफिशियल. उसके बाद पता चला, और फिर धीरे धीरे ये भी हुआ कि you can even switch on the microphone and you student can ask doubt from right now. तो अभी क्या कर रहे हैं कि हम student से भी doubt class में interrupt करके पूछ लेते हैं. So it is as good. थोड़ा effort ज़्यादा लगता है, definitely वो element रहता है कि student सामने नहीं है. तो but क्या होता है कि जब तक अब जैसे Google Maps आया था तो my son said पापा Google Map क्यों नहीं यूज़ करते. मैंने कहा मैं सारी दिल्ली में यार सालों से गाड़ी चला रहा हूँ, ये सारा पता है कहाँ मुड़ना है, मुझे ज़रूरत नहीं है. लेकिन वो यूज़ नहीं कर रहे थे ना उसको. यूज़ करने के बाद तो अभी तो लगता है गूगल मैप के बगैर लाइफ है क्या. सो इस टेक्नोलॉजी में सब जगह जो नई आती हैं तो यू हैव टू first dive into it, then when you see the advantages, then you see that it is very beneficial.
So I'll add one more thing.
You're absolutely right.
One
It
more
is just
challenge.
resistance to change.
So one more resistance which happens is this. And I'm sure you and your team would be facing this very often. You go to someone और उसको बोलो कि देखो अच्छा आप क्या कर रहे हो, मैं ये use कर रहा हूँ. Okay, fine. So the guy is very comfortable using whatever he is using. Be it for teaching as a teaching tool, be it for admissions or whatever. The moment you'll ask him 5 questions which maybe your service has and he has not talked about कि मैं क्या करता हूँ, that guy will immediately trash it, saying इसका use ही नहीं है, हमें इसकी ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. We are doing very well the way we are doing it. Because what you are actually doing is you are challenging his intellectual power and his power of being a long established professional. You are telling him, आप ये analysis करते हो on your admissions data. He says, we don't need to do this. He will never agree that it is needed to be done. I don't know how to do it. He has got so used to one particular system. He is so very comfortable. So the top guy will have no challenge, telling you, हाँ ठीक है, you please come and pitch. Is the guy who's actually operating the system who will have the biggest challenge, because you're asking him to change his way of living. You're telling him till date you've been brushing your teeth with the right hand, now you must brush with your left hand. You say, why do I need to brush with the left hand? But if you tell him, if he regularly brushes with the left hand, in 2 months' time, Aishwarya Rai will date him. His question will be, अच्छा 6 महीने बाद कौन मिलेगा? So if you are able to tell the guy that by using this technology, this is what is the gain in it for you, you will bring down the resistance.
Sir, on a lighter note, actually, जो श्याम सर ने बताया कि without Google Map, you can't do anything now, sir. So for educational institutions, sir, without Meritto is very difficult, sir. That is what we have created so far.
It's quite a big claim.
Sir, the last thing with respect to when you are creating the blueprint and all that, and you are at the helm of stuff, what is one metric which you think is very, very valuable, which you should look at on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, and which will help our audience to understand more about that, how you look at stuff? So, kuch bhi, sir.
So I would say, see, the main reason for adoption of technology by us or for anybody should be the customer experience. Right. So, ultimately, the student or the parent who is coming to the portal should get a seamless experience in terms of applications or any information thereafter, whether it is getting the offers, payment of fee, all that, because nobody has time and everybody's expectations in terms of the output is very, very high. And compared to our generation or a generation, beyond that, the young generation is born with technology. So they are used to, and so the point that I tell everybody that there is now a question of survival. You don't use technology, you can't survive because people will just leave you and go to somebody else. So there is no option but to provide the best services, and that is only possible using technology. Because we cannot hire so much staff to give the similar experience. So your reach, you can reach to a wider audience, you can go to a larger distance, right? And it ultimately becomes cost effective as well. While the initial cost is slightly higher, but over a long period of time, you will find the benefit of that. That's it.
Sounds good. Thank you
सर
so
जो
much.
वन मेट्रिक की बात कर रहे हैं ना,
हाँ सर.
एक चीज़ जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है, अगर और चीज़ बाकी छूट जाए तो you must have, in education, you must have the ability to see the things from a student's mind. This is the one thing. From my experience, I'm telling you. rest of the things will come. You must have the ability to see what is being, what a student is feeling from student's perspective. If you have the ability to judge that, then you will do the correct things.
Anything else?
I think I second and echo the same what Mr. Shyam Gupta is saying. The student-centric approach should be the one metrics. If we focus towards that, and I'm starting a journey when a candidate, they become a student and they become your alumni. Okay, so that's a life cycle. And if we have all the intervention, whichever way with the technology enablement and all, if we have all right metrics, quantify, goals which can be done, I think we are good enough to done. So when I say admissions, you have having a right input criteria, which gives you the right output for the student. When the education delivery, you have all the right metrics has been done, their experience, student-centric, and when they are pass out alumni, that means how much they are contributing back to the institute. There are a lot of institutes which produce lakhs of students, but hardly 3% of their alma mater is contributing back to the institute. So that's very important, So this is what I believe the student-centric is the one metrics to be taken care.
I just want to say this, if I can ever measure something, I'd like to measure how many of my students love how many of my faculty. My past experience in life has been, you actually love the faculty and only then you love the subject. So if the kid loves the faculty, he'll love the subject, he'll crack the subject and he'll meet his dream of life. I need to find a way to measure that.
I think that's an idea for us, that we'll have to figure out something in our product to give you that power in your hand. Thank you so much, the panel members. I think I have overshoot by some 10-15 minutes, but it was so engaging that I felt that it will help audience to learn more about from your experience and all that. So appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming all the way and participating in this.
Thank you so much. A heartfelt thank you to all our distinguished panelists.